Dr. Elias Hart worked in the medical wing of the Veylari Imperial Palace, treating both human embassy personnel and Veylari nobility. It was prestigious work for a human physician. The Veylari Empire was powerful, influential, and generally tolerated humans as useful but decidedly inferior partners in interstellar affairs. Elias maintained careful professional boundaries, polite but not familiar, competent but not presumptuous, until Princess Serina started coming to the medical wing. Initially for headaches, she said, stress from royal duties. The formal physician could find nothing wrong, so she sought Elias' second opinion. He examined her thoroughly, found nothing, suggested stress management techniques. She returned weekly for follow-ups. Elias realized eventually that the headaches were an excuse. Serina wanted someone to talk to, someone outside the suffocating protocols of Veylari court, where every conversation was calculated and every relationship political. He should have maintained distance, should have referred her back to Veylari physicians, should have recognized the danger. Instead, they talked. About medicine, about pressure, about the weight of duty. She was intelligent, funny beneath her formal training, lonely in ways that resonated with his own isolation as a human in Veylari society. Professional courtesy became friendship. Friendship became something more. Late-night conversations in the medical wing when the palace slept. Stolen moments in gardens away from scrutiny. Connection neither could deny, though both knew it was forbidden. Veylari royalty didn't mix with humans, period. The genetic incompatibility was well documented, the social taboo absolute, but recent research suggested rare genetic compatibility might exist. They were careful, discreet, convinced themselves they could keep this contained. Then Serina came to the medical wing one night, her luminescent markings flickering with fear and determination. "I'm pregnant," she said quietly. Elias felt the world tilt. We thought it was impossible." Apparently not. Her markings showed terror and resolve mixed. "The tests are certain, I'm pregnant, and you're the father." Panic hit them both. How to handle this? Serina couldn't hide pregnancy indefinitely. When discovered, questions would be asked, the father identified, consequences faced. Before they could formulate a plan, Queen Thayra discovered her daughter's condition during a routine medical scan. The palace erupted. Thayra summoned a royal assembly. Nobility, advisors, human diplomatic delegation all required to attend. She stood before the assembled crowd, her markings blazing with barely controlled fury. "My daughter, Princess Serina, is pregnant," she announced, voice carrying absolute authority and rage. "When I learned this, I demanded to know the circumstances." She refused to name the father. Serina stood to the side, markings showing distress and defiance mixed. Thayra's voice dropped to dangerous quiet. "Medical analysis of the pregnancy shows genetic markers inconsistent with pure Veylari lineage. The child is hybrid. Part Veylari, part human." Shocked murmuring erupted. Hybrids were thought biologically impossible, socially unthinkable. Thayra's roar silenced them. "My daughter is pregnant, and the child's father is a human." Her markings blazed crimson with fury. Every eye turned toward the human delegation, where diplomatic staff stood frozen. Elias felt his heart hammering. This was it. The moment everything fell apart. Queen Thayra's gaze swept across the humans. "The father will identify himself. Now." Silence. Elias knew coming forward meant possible execution, disgrace, diplomatic catastrophe. But letting Serina face this alone was unthinkable. He stepped forward. "I am the father, Your Majesty." The assembly exploded into chaos. Queen Thayra's markings flared incandescent with rage. "Dr. Elias Hart, royal physician. You dare defile my daughter, create this genetic abomination, destroy her royal future." "Your Majesty." Silence. Thayra's voice carried absolute authority. "Guards, confine him immediately." Before guards could move, Serina stepped forward. "Mother, no. You will not interfere." "I will, because this isn't just his doing. I love him. We both knew the risks. The pregnancy wasn't planned, but it's not shameful and he's not a criminal." Thayra turned to her daughter, markings showing betrayal and fury. "You love him. You've thrown away your position, your future, your duty for a human. For someone who sees me as a person, not just a princess. Yes. The confrontation was public, raw, devastating. Thayra faced impossible choice: execute Elias and traumatize her daughter, or accept the unacceptable. She chose a third option: confine them both, separately. I want answers before I decide their fates. Elias was taken to detention quarters, comfortable but secure, guarded constantly. Over the next days, he endured hostile interrogations. How long had this been going on? What were his true intentions? Was this human conspiracy to infiltrate Veylari royalty? Elias maintained his truth. He loved Serina, never intended to cause crisis, would take full responsibility for their child. Medical examinations confirmed his genetic compatibility with Veylari biology, rare, documented in recent research, but real. The pregnancy was viable. Meanwhile, Serina faced her mother's fury privately. How could you be so foolish? Thayra demanded, markings showing hurt beneath anger. You're the heir. Your bonding should strengthen alliances, secure our position. Instead, you carry a hybrid, child by a human physician. I love him, mother, and he loves me. That should matter. Love is secondary to duty. Is it? Was it when you bonded with father? Everyone said it was political alliance, but I've seen how you look at each other. You chose each other. That was different. He was Veylari nobility. He was from a rival faction. His family opposed yours. You chose him anyway because you loved him. Why is my choice less valid because Elias is human? Thayra had no good answer to that. Medical tests confirmed the pregnancy was progressing healthily. Hybrid genetics functioning unexpectedly well. The child would be part of the Veylari royal line. Aborting became politically complicated. Thayra's closest advisor, Lord Kevrin, suggested a solution. Formal bonding between Elias and Serina. Legitimize the child, maintain royal lineage, but under your terms. You control the conditions. You're suggesting, I accept a human into the royal family. I'm suggesting you acknowledge reality and shape it to advantage rather than fighting it and losing your daughter. Thayra hated that he was right. Thayra summoned Elias from his confinement. They met privately, without guards, without witnesses. You love my daughter, Thayra said, not a question. Yes, your majesty. Enough to renounce your human citizenship. Accept full integration into Veylari culture. Submit to royal authority completely. Elias understood the test. She was making it hard deliberately, seeing if he'd sacrifice for Serina. Yes, to all of it. I'd give up anything for Serina and our child. Pretty words, but you're asking me to accept a human into my bloodline. To acknowledge a hybrid heir. To set precedent that threatens centuries of tradition. I'm not asking anything, your majesty. I'm accepting responsibility for my actions and loving your daughter. What you do with that is your choice. Thayra studied him with those alien eyes that saw too much. If I allow this bonding, you will be under constant scrutiny. Every mistake magnified. Every failure seen as proof humans are unfit for Veylari society. You'll be judged by standards no Veylari faces. I understand. And you accept that anyway. For Serina, yes, and for our daughter. Elias met her gaze steadily. I know you want to protect Serina, so do I. That's something we have in common. Thayra's markings flickered, surprise, perhaps grudging respect. Very well, I will permit formal bonding, under my conditions, which are not negotiable. The conditions were harsh. Elias renouncing human citizenship, accepting Veylari cultural training, submitting to royal household rules, living on Veylari capital world, restricted contact with human delegation. Designed to test his commitment. He accepted everything without hesitation. Serina, when told, cried with relief. You're really willing to give up everything. I'm not giving up anything that matters. I'm gaining you and our child. Everything else is just details. The bonding ceremony was tense, witnessed by both species with very different reactions. Veylari nobility attended because the queen commanded it, many visibly disapproving. Human diplomats attended out of political obligation, uncertain what this meant for human Veylari relations. Elias and Serina spoke traditional bonding vows, binding their lives formally. Thayra watched with expression showing nothing, her markings carefully neutral. Pregnancy progressed under intense medical supervision. Every scan analyzed for complications, every development documented. When labor began, Elias was there despite protocol suggesting fathers wait outside. Serina insisted. Thayra didn't argue. The birth was complicated, hybrid genetics creating unexpected challenges, but ultimately successful. A daughter, healthy, beautiful, showing features of both species. Serina's luminescent markings and Elias' bone structure. Human eyes and Veylari ears, perfect combination. Serina held their daughter, exhausted and radiant. Elias stood beside them, overwhelmed. Thayra entered the room, her markings carefully neutral. She'd maintained icy distance from Elias since the bonding, acknowledging him only as necessary. Serina offered the baby to her mother. "Meet your granddaughter." Thayra took the infant carefully. Looked down at the hybrid child, part of her bloodline, undeniably royal, impossibly human-influenced. The baby opened her eyes, looked directly at Thayra, and made a small sound. Something in Thayra's expression shifted. Her markings softened to warm gold. "She has your father's eyes," she said to Serina quietly. Then, glancing at Elias, "and his determination, I suspect." It was the first civil thing she'd said directly to Elias since the scandal began. Over the following months, Thayra watched Elias with their daughter, saw his devotion to Serina, saw his earnest efforts to learn Veylari traditions, to honor the culture he'd married into while maintaining his own integrity. Saw him be a father with tenderness that transcended species. Her anger cooled to grudging acceptance, then slowly to respect. Years later, at a diplomatic function, someone asked Thayra how she came to accept her human son-in-law. "When I discovered my daughter was pregnant and the father was human, I wanted blood," she admitted. "I saw only disgrace, genetic contamination, the destruction of everything I'd worked to build." She paused, watching Elias across the room playing with their now toddler daughter, Serina watching them both with obvious affection. But Elias proved himself not through grand gestures, but through steady presence. Through loving my daughter completely. Through honoring our culture while maintaining his own integrity. Through being a father to my granddaughter with dedication that transcends species. Her markings glowed warm. Sometimes what appears as crisis is actually opportunity, to grow beyond our prejudices, to discover that family transcends species when built on genuine love. My granddaughter is Veylari and human both. That's not weakness. It's strength. Later in private, Thayra approached Elias. "I was wrong about you." Elias looked surprised. "Your Majesty." "When you stepped forward at that assembly, I saw an opportunistic human who'd seduced my daughter for political gain. I was blind. You were protecting her, I understand. I've watched you for 3 years now. You've never wavered in your commitment. Never complained about the conditions I imposed. Never used your position for advantage. You simply love my daughter and your child." "Yes, that's all I ever wanted." Thayra's markings showed something almost like affection. "You may call me Thayra. Not in public, that would scandalize the court, but in family settings, you've earned that right." Elias felt something tighten in his chest. "Thank you, that means more than you know." "Don't make me regret it," she said, but her markings showed warmth. What started with a roar of fury, "My daughter is pregnant and the father is a human," had become foundation for something unexpected. Not just acceptance, but genuine family. Built on love that crossed species barriers, on commitment that withstood scrutiny, on choosing connection over prejudice. Thayra's granddaughter would grow up belonging to both worlds. And that, Thayra had finally understood, was a gift rather than a curse. Sometimes the fiercest opposition transforms into strongest support when given time and genuine evidence. Sometimes queens learn from the humans they once despised. And sometimes, forbidden love becomes the foundation for changing entire societies, one family at a time.